Hey, hello, welcome back to my channel. I am going to be doing a reading vlog. I don't think it's going to be like a week-long vlog, honestly, because I have some plans. I have some things going on with my TBR cart right here. And so I just wanted to kind of dive in and show you what I'm going to be planning to read for the next few days. And hopefully this will get me like more into the fall spirit, because Summerween was like a great start. It was an amazing way to just get back into physically reading things and reading non-manga stuff. But I think that I need to keep dipping my toe in a little bit more. So I have 3 books, and let me start with the first one that I have I will be having an audiobook for, and that is The Mansion by Ezekiel Boone. I read an Ezekiel Boone book, I think it was Skitter, and I read that a few years ago, like at least 5 years ago, when it was an arc, and I really enjoyed it. This one is about, I believe, a person gets a really high-tech mansion after someone dies. Says, when Billy Stratford and his wife moved into a remote high-tech mansion designed with every comfort in mind, he thinks it'll be the perfect chance to work on their marriage and restart his career. There's bugs in the system that should be easy enough to fix, but as winter settles in and Billy and his wife are left alone in the woods, a dark reality begins to dawn on them. And so I think kind of like an evil smart house book. I'm also going to be reading 2 newer releases. The first one being Junji Ito's new, I believe this is this a manga collection, like a story collection? No, this is a standalone. So this is The Liminal Zone by Junji Ito. It says, after abruptly departing from a train in a small town, a couple encounters a weeping woman, a professional mourner sobbing inconsolably at a funeral. Mako changes afterwards. She can't stop crying. In another tale, oh, so it's a few different stories. Whatever. So very interested. It should be a quicker read for me. So again, audiobook and manga, these are super fast for me to finish. So that should be making for some easy reading. I got the signed copy of Paul Tremblay's The Pallbearers Club, which just came out, I believe, last month. And this one says, a cleverly voiced psychological thriller about an unstoppable and unsettling friendship with blood-chilling twists, cracking wit, and a thrumming pulse in its veins. I don't want to really know too much about this. The only thing I really know is that it is like annotated. So if you can see in the US copy, there are these red annotations throughout, and lots of notes in the margins. I don't know what that means for like who's telling the story and who's reacting to the story. So it says Pallbearers Club by Art Barbara, and then it's crossed out and it says by Paul Tremblay. So interesting. Even the dedication is dedicated and it's crossed. There's a question that says, who are they? So I wonder if like the whole book is supposed to be something that Paul Tremblay found and he's annotating it. That'd be really cool if that's the concept. I'm just gonna go in blind beyond that. But for now, I'm gonna go do some shopping because I need some new clothes. But those are the 3 books on the docket for this vlog. So if you're interested, keep watching, and I will share all my thoughts as I read them. I have some updates on the 2 books that I've been reading because, of course, I couldn't just read one. So yesterday, I finally was able to, at midnight, get the download for Ezekiel Boone's Mansion, and I've been reading that off and on this morning. I am about 32 pages in so far, and I have some pretty negative thoughts. It is really playing up the like poor cis white man shtick. I don't know how long I can hold out hope on this book, and the general thing is that there were these 2 guys that were tech bros. They were founding a company together, and they created this really intense programming language, and then one of them ends up getting all the fame and glory for it, and the other one loses a settlement against them. On top of that, he is a recovering and like relapsing alcoholic. He used to do coke, and he was talking about how there was sexual harassment allegations that he just didn't have the energy to fight. So that's unappealing. So that was not a great start, but I have also started Pallbearers Club, and I have much more nice things to say about this. So this is a memoir that has been found in someone's office, and they are writing it about their lives. And then you also have this outside perspective of somebody having found the memoir and is writing annotations in the margins. Pallbearers Club is a club where you are going to a funeral home and like going to funerals of people that don't have anybody to show up. So maybe homeless people that don't have any friends that want to come, or any family, or just people without family, people that are really old and have nobody to come. It's kind of creepy because Art Barbara was having a very existential crisis about death, which I understood completely. And so I didn't know a lot about this going in, So I am going to have to face my own existential dread about death and talking about death and dead bodies and things like that, which is fine, because Paul Tremblay's writing is really interesting. I always love his writing. I might take a little break to just do some listening of the audiobook to The Mansion, because I really want to get to page 50 and then make a determination of whether or not I'm going to stick with this. If not, then I will need to pick a new audiobook that I'm going to listen to for this vlog. Number one, I think I have finally taught myself how to French braid, which I'm very proud of, even though these French braids are very bad. So I've made a lot more progress in the book I wasn't enjoying than I would have liked to. So that is The Mansion, and I'm on page 122. We are still not at the mansion. Oh no, we are, but we're not moved in yet. And so our main character has gone through the awkwardness of having to re-meet with his partner and is now at the mansion and has now come back from that visit and is talking to his wife about the great opportunity, and it's all like very like too good to be true, because not even having moved in yet, his ex-partner has like given him all these amazing things to make his life easier, and it's just really sketchy. And so I'm already like skeeved out by the whole thing, because I don't know if the partner knows what's really going on, but there are some creepy, weird, all-knowing AI vibes going on. And the reason I keep going in that book is because I have an audiobook, and it makes things exponentially easier if I want to just like do dishes or do laundry or whatever. And I'm finally 50 pages into Pallbearer's Club. This one is going a little slower, and it's starting to be, it's like set mostly in the 80s right now, and I'm assuming all of it's going to be in the 80s. For the most part though, this beginning part is set in the 80s, and you're getting some of those 80s references, music and stuff, which is something I really don't like, and I've talked about before, especially like 80s music where it's like more nostalgic than anything. I just don't feel like putting in the work to research this music as you mention it. And so if an author is mentioning music or bands or something, I'm not looking it up. Like, that's not something I want to research. I don't want to go down that hole. I don't have the energy to potentially have a new obsession with something, and so I just give up. So it kind of turns me off from that type of book. We have officially had the person that's annotating the memoir actually like known, like it's this person that our memoir writer has renamed Mercy, and their relationship is kind of weird because Mercy is this very strange character, and she's like taking pictures at the funeral home and just being all around like the quirky, like 80s punky kind of character. And I'm assuming is going to like open our memoir, like Art's eyes, and going to make him into a more interesting character, because he's kind of just a loner and he's on his own. Like, I want to know what the creepy part is, because there was like a little bit of a mention of UFOs and hauntings, but it was more theoretical than like this is haunted or whatever. So we're also still getting that really weird like hinting at Art having like no soul, or Art being weird and like kind of cruel or something. So that's probably way down the line as a reveal. But I do have laundry to do today, and so I'm gonna put myself together a little bit, put on this dress that is just hanging out in the background, and hopefully get a bunch more into Pallbearer's Club, because I just didn't really get to read it too much this weekend. I've decided to DNF it officially DNFing this book at page 125 for this absolutely horrendous disgrace to, excuse you, to dinosaurs. I'll pause myself so that you may be enchanted by this fucking bullshit.
First of all, Rothko said, what if Mommy and I told you and your sister about using grown-up words? And second of all, while I refuse to address the first accusation of being an asshole, I am more than prepared to address your mother's unfounded belief that accountants are inherently boring. He stood up, tucking his elbows into his sides and letting his arms dangle, hunching over and screwing his face up so his teeth were showing. If all accountants were boring, would I, right now, pretend to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex, greatest of all the dinosaurs? He roared and then flailed at Ruth with his T-Rex arms until she dissolved in a fit of laughter.
I'm not even halfway through. I'm about a third through. I don't know what the math is. I don't fucking feel like doing that. But I'm just so frustrated because there are so many things that they tried to tie into one book, and the whole point of the book was supposed to be like trying to uncover what's wrong with the mansion and the AI that has been built into it. We haven't even officially gotten to the mansion. It's digging way too deep into everyone's backstory. The dinosaur thing really was the straw that broke the camel's back. I got a little gross feeling, and I definitely need to go wash my hair. So I'm gonna go do that, and try to get this out of my system and then dive back into Pallbearer's Club, which I was also able to do a little bit of reading into. I think I read like another 20 pages, and it's getting a little better now that we have some like vampire-y vibes happening. Like they're researching vampires. Vampires haven't been introduced yet. Don't get too excited. I certainly fucking won't be. So I genuinely do not remember the last time that I checked in. However, a few things have changed. As we can tell by the terrible lighting, I have touched up my hair and definitely over bleached it, but for the most part it is pretty blonde, and I'm going to re-dye it at some point, but just not right now. This week has been probably one of the more stressful in a long time, and reading has only taken part, I guess, like every night, reading like 20 pages, but I think I just finished the longest chapter in the book. Still reading Pallbearer's Club, and I am on page 189 right now. 2 big sections left, and I should be able to finish this either tomorrow night. Well, no, I should be able to finish it tomorrow night or Friday, and we can dive into another book because I feel like I've been reading this forever. I think something interesting that I'm seeing here is that this reminds me of a different Paul Tremblay book in which you're really not sure what's happening or if it's truly supernatural. Since really early on, there's been this like inkling that the character reading the book is a vampire or was portrayed as a vampire, and it's becoming more and more evident throughout the book that like this is definitely not a memoir. It is a novel that our main character Art Barbara is writing. It really reminded me of that other book because there's this creepy like after dark horror sense where you are maybe alone and the room is very dimly lit and you're kind of sleepy, and that blob in the corner of the room starts to look like something else, and you don't really know what it was originally, or you just don't know. You don't know what's happening, and so things can kind of manifest depending on how you're feeling or just depending on how dark the room is. And it's definitely got that vibe to the entire book. It's a little bit more slow going than I thought. I think I'm gonna just chill for a little while, refresh things on Etsy because I just need to get my brain out of work. Honestly, I'll probably actually end up working on some things that I shouldn't for work, and then maybe end up watching some old videos on YouTube. I decided early on this week that I was going to take a PTO day on Friday, so I'll have lots of time to read then. Oh my god, my hair looks so red. Okay, so that officially is going to be the new focus of every clip that I film. I dyed my hair yesterday, like less than 24 hours ago, I say. It's not this red in real life. I'll post some pictures up on the screen now of what it actually looks like. Oh my god, yeah, my white balance is making it appear like fire engine red, when in reality it's like a really beautiful, it's like an Ariel, the mermaid type of like magenta. So I'm gonna keep that up because it is the most distracting thing on the screen. But today is my off day, and I'm very excited because I got to sleep in. I don't have to do any work today. PTO is all covered, and I don't have any responsibilities for another 2.5 days until Monday. So coffee is almost drunk, and I'm ready to fucking finish book number 1 of this goddamn vlog. I feel like this vlog has been going on for so long that you're probably sick of seeing this book. Ooh. Okay. That was a bit dramatic. But last night I got to page 218. I believe this is about 270 pages or so. And I'm ready to be done with it. So today will be the last day that we read and talk about this book. All right, I have about like 8 minutes left of the YouTube video I'm watching, and then we're gonna crank through this, and then we'll move on to the next, because I still have 2 books I want to read for this vlog, one of which I've not told you about yet, but if you look at the thumbnail, will probably be there. There's such a lovely feeling in finishing a book that you've been reading for what feels like a century. So let's put her clothes back on really quickly and we can talk about the Pallbearer's Club by Paul Tremblay. I'll make you wait a second for my final review, but I have finished it. She's put her jacket back on, And overall, I feel like this book was a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more cerebral than I was anticipating. It reminded me of A Head Full of Ghosts, which is another Paul Tremblay book that I read and had mixed feelings about, because there was this constant sense of what's really paranormal and what's really real. And it's not something that I was fully anticipating with this book, especially because it was very found footagey. You are getting first the memoir of Art Barbara, and then you're also seeing annotations and these like afterwards by another character that knows them. And it's an interesting back and forth, because the chapters themselves are a memoir and you're constantly getting the narrator's point of view that is very doubtful that it's a memoir, and saying like, you know, this is more of a novel. You're really embellishing a lot of these conversations because they were part of some of those conversations. And it actually helps unravel a lot of the story, because you're getting to see the memoir from a different point of view. And you're also, if you weren't able to kind of like evaluate what's going on, sometimes it's actually spoken out by the narrator, by the annotator, that certain things are kind of happening in between. It does help having the annotations there and the afterwards, because it helps you suss through the story. It's helping you stay a little bit more grounded, because the annotations are always battling the memoir itself and saying it's more of a novel, it's not fully true, too much is being embellished upon. And there is there's an undercurrent throughout the book of vampires. I will not say this is a vampire horror story, because it is not horror. It is a kind of like freaky, somewhat at times paranormal, contemporary, and it's about a man who, when he's in his teens, because it goes, excuse me, I'm talking. It goes from like when he's like 17 or 18 until he's like in his mid 40s, and you are seeing him being diagnosed with scoliosis, and then he gets scoliosis surgery. And then I feel like that was a heavier presence in the book, like him having scoliosis and having spinal fusion surgery, and like this ever-present like burden of having back problems throughout his entire life, having heart problems, having just like being this like big hulking man who has a very straight back now, but there's so many other complications. And I felt like that was such a heavier presence in the book than the vampire stuff, so I do not want people to go into this book and think it's horror. However, if you did read Head Full of Ghosts, which has a lot of like very creepy scenes, a lot of things where they could be easily explained away, you might enjoy this book. But that book was also kind of unsettling. That book was very unsettling, however, it was a bit of a letdown for me as well. So overall, I am going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars, because I liked the creepy factor at times and the paranormal, like imagining something in the back of the room, weird, shadowy things. But it's only going to get a 3, maybe a 3.5 out of 5 stars, because it truly is like a memoir. Like, there are just these events dispersed through time that don't, like, the through line of it is the character that's annotating the book, and our main character, Art Barbara's connection to the annotator of the book. When I had the flop that was The Mansion, I did decide on a different book as an audiobook. So that is going to be The Empire of Wild, I believe it's called. Let's pull this up. Empire of Wild by Cherie Dimaline, and I believe this is an Indigenous author who is writing about some sort of werewolf-like creature. So I just want to read the synopsis really quickly. It says, new Indigenous voice in contemporary literature. It's a kinetic, imaginative, and sensuous fable inspired by the traditional Canadian Métis legend of the Rougarou, oh my god, sorry, I messed that up. Rougarou, werewolf-like creature that haunts the roads and woods of Native peoples' communities. Joan has been searching for her missing husband Victor for nearly a year, ever since the horrible night that they'd had their first serious argument before he mysteriously vanished. Her Métis family has lived in their tightly knit rural community for generations, but no one keeps the old ways until they have to. That moment has arrived for Joan one morning. Grieving and severely hungover, Joan hears a shocking sound coming from inside a revival tent in a gritty Walmart parking lot. It is the unmistakable voice of Victor. And I'm going to leave it there because it's not a terribly long audiobook. It's only It's only 8 hours, which is 4 hours if I listen at 2 times speed. And I have the physical book. I believe Sage actually gave this to me, so thank you, Sage. So I think I'm gonna go take a shower. I'm gonna kind of like absorb the rest of my feelings about Paul Tremblay and Pallbearer's Club, and then I'm gonna hop into listening to that for a little while. So I will maybe have an update once I get some more initial thoughts on it. Hello, it is a new day. Feeling fresh and clean, even though I woke up sweaty. The hair, still intense. You know what? Right now we're gonna wear it down. We're gonna lean into the vibe. But I did want to let you know that the truest twist to this vlog is that I am absolutely loving this book, Empire of the Wild by Cherie Dimaline. Oh my god, I am over halfway through already. I've been listening to the audiobook and I wanted to make some corrections to my reading of the back of the book because, oh my god, the formatting on the hoopla description was really fucked up. So it's the legend of the Rougarou, which is basically like, I believe, a man that can turn into a werewolf, and there's all of this childhood lore, or just lore in general, surrounding this creature man thing. Joan is freaking out, and yeah, it's kind of also got these very interesting dream sequences in which you're really not sure what is going on. It's not even a dream sequence. I'm just saying a dream sequence because it's the easiest way to kind of demonstrate how like otherworldly, like it's almost as if it's like a veil to like a different type of existence going on. It's so fucking good. Like, not only is it a little bit horror because there are some very creepy scenes involving the Rougarou, which I don't even want to go into how it plays into the whole story, but there are some very sketchy, scary scenes there, as well as like this mystery thriller aspect of like, because this man who looks like her husband is a reverend, you're seeing a bit of like a culty vibe with the religious stuff going on. You're also seeing like there's a love story. I hate to say it because like I don't think I've ever said something as a love story before, but you are seeing this like amazing love story of like Joan and Victor, her husband, and like, oh my god, like she just, aside from like him just being her husband, like she fucking loves this man and she needs him back. So there's a line, and this is like something that Victor would say, more or less. And it says, his job was to exist so that she could keep running that mouth, keep kissing him with 1,000 little kisses in the oddest spots, inside of the elbow, back of the neck, above the belly button, on the exact spot where the zipper on his jeans began. There was no other reason for him to exist, and it was enough. And like, I don't know if it's just me, but that was like the most beautiful thing ever. Like, there's no reason for this man to exist except for her. And I was like, ooh, and not only her, but like for her to just run her fucking mouth. And I'm like, yes, I love them. So I'm having a great time. I've been listening to the audiobook on 2 times speed. And so last night Jose was like freaking exhausted and he slept, and I listened to the audiobook until like 3 a.m. So right now I'm gonna just like, no. Oh, that was a TikTok. Let me see how much is left in the audiobook. It's probably less than 2 hours, but I just woke up despite the hour. 3.5 hours left, so that's an hour and 15 minutes left at 2 times speed. I'm down, but I'm just so excited. Also, this fucking book cover does not do this book justice. Like this, granted, it's a kind of nice book, but it makes it seem very fantastical, and I just don't think of this book as fantasy. Like, it's just a cover. Like, I'm like, nah. Like no discredit to the cover artist, Yeon Kim. What I do like is these other covers that I saw on Goodreads, especially the one where the book is literally just called Yoguru and Rougarou. The ones where that's just the title is just gorgeous. So I'm drinking this like two-handed, like I'm a baby. I'm gonna stop delaying the inevitable, which is like the fact that I am gonna finish this book today, this afternoon before Jose wakes up. I finished. And this is definitely 5 stars. Holy crap. This is not not what I expected at all. And we're gonna put this cover I don't like away so I can put up the beautiful covers that I do like. I truly don't know how to process this right now because I literally like pressed return to library on the ebook or the audiobook and then immediately turn on the camera. So moment of silence for another 5-star read that I can't fully comprehend. I think the audiobook definitely did this a lot of justice as well. I feel like the narrator was amazing and I felt so emotionally attached to these characters. Aside from like Joan and Victor's true love that shines throughout this book, there's also Joan's, I believe, nephew or cousin who's like 14 or 12 or something. He's my favorite character aside from the love. It's just Zeus, the little cousin, and their love, and just this book was just so good. I feel like nothing was wasted. I feel like every single chapter, we had like a lot of different points of view, but I felt like everything was just building to the ending of this book. Just have a lot of emotions. 5 stars, heartbroken, in love. It's just beautiful. I don't have true words. I don't have like an actual review for you aside from the fact that I needed this so badly, and I just feel like you should just go read it. Go read it. Forget this cover exists. And, oh gosh. Okay. Well, on that note, I'm probably gonna go take a shower. And then we have one last book left for this vlog. Pick up Junji Ito's Liminal Zone, Liminal Space, and that one will literally be the fastest read ever compared to these two. And I'll let you know my thoughts on that once we've read a little bit of that. It's a manga, so it's gonna be really fast. It's also a pretty short one, so I'll see you soon. Okay, I just finished the first story in Liminal Zone. It was the Weeping Women Way, and it was a pretty decent chunk of the book already. And it was pretty good, but it did remind me like of a few other stories that Junji Ito has written. I don't know if it's because I've literally read almost everything that has been published by him in English, and I'd probably give that first one like a 4 out of 5 stars. Bento. Gonna hop right into the next section here. I think I'm just gonna check in with you when I'm done with Liminal Zone and just let you know my final rating. But I have a feeling it'll at least be a 3 out of 5 stars just because it's Junji Ito and I really enjoy his manga like artwork style, and it's pretty hard for his stories to disappoint. A familiar place for some of you, but most of you will not know, but this is my bathroom. Jose's out in the living room now watching a show. So I just finished Liminal Zone by Junji Ito, and I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 stars. It had an interesting afterwards by Junji Ito, talking about how they wrote this during the pandemic, starting, I think it was just written in like 2021, and how they did it in like a different format than usual. It was serialized on like an app instead of in like a magazine, so they had a different I guess page limit, which is kind of cool, because I was gonna say I felt like the stories in here were a lot more fleshed out than some of the other stories that Junji Ito usually does, and I quite enjoyed it. There was 5. It was Weeping Woman Way, which is the first one I talked about. There was also Madonna, which was the one that did have to do with someone who thought they were like the embodiment of the Virgin Mary. There was the Spirit Flow of Aokigahara, and that one was about this couple that goes into the woods and they find this really creepy cave, and there's like these trees that are stripped like leading up to the cave. And then, oh no, there was 4 stories. The last one was Slumber, and this one is about a guy who every time he wakes up he is having these weird memories of him having killed someone the day before, and he's like, what the fuck, like how am I having these terrible thoughts in my head? And overall I thought they were all really interesting and they were all very original. Like, nothing against Junji Ito, but I feel like a lot of the stories are paired together in a way where it's really hard to distinguish some of them, and sometimes they actually have characters that like go through all of the stories, but I like that these were all completely separate. I feel like this is actually a pretty good example of like, if you want to try them out, try them out. Yeah, I really liked it a lot. So that's it for now. I'm gonna end this vlog because it's taken me a long time to film it, a lot longer than I thought I would. And I'm really excited that we were able to get through this together. I'm not sure if I'm going to do another vlog like this soon, or if I'm gonna try to do some more sit down videos. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this video, and leave me like some sort of red pinkish emoji down below. Let me know you made this far in the video, and I will see you next time.